You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing? Time to show 'em what you're made of. Let's get back on track. Are you ready for a come on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No calming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back.
Hello and welcome back to Super Mega Crash Beyond. I am your host, Stephen White. With me, as always, is my co-host, Lacey Finley.
Happy Monday.
Well, we've got a gem today as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. I was excited to talk about this because I feel like this is a movie that no one talks about anymore. You know, there are...
Yeah, I mean, it's a little old, I guess, by today's standards anymore.
Right.
I keep remembering how long the 90s were ago now.
Yeah, it is it's a 30-year-old movie now, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I guess I can understand why.
Mhm.
There were movies in the, when I was in the 5, 6, of course I was a little older. Older movies from 30 years ago weren't exactly movies I was looking at as a kid. So certainly I understand. But this is a movie that I actually got to see in theaters. And
I did not, I don't think.
And this wasn't a movie I actively went to go see. You know what I mean? I just went, like my parents wanted to go see it, and they took me and my brother. So I just happened to see it in the theaters. And even as a kid, I enjoyed this movie. And keep in mind, I was probably 13, so I was a bit of age to kind of enjoy it.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's got some action going on and everything. I could see a teenage boy being like, ooh, this is fun. You know?
Yeah. So we're talking about The Fugitive. And if you have never heard of this movie, I hope that we can convince you to go check it out, even though I'd probably recommend going and watching it if you hadn't before you listen to this, because we're going to
spoiler. We're
going to talk about everything about it. But if you're not, and you don't give a shit about spoilers and what have you, I mean, clearly,
you've had time.
Yeah, there's been time, and even in saying spoilers, that's a hard thing to... I can't say that there's anything to... Well, I guess there is a modicum of spoilery.
Well, you know the plot within the first few minutes, I guess. So if you watch the first 10 minutes, you're not spoiled.
Right. So
until we tell you how it ended.
If you're unfamiliar with this, it's actually based on an old TV show. And I say old, but at the time, I think it came out in...
wasn't it 70s though?
I feel like 60s, 70s, something like that. But let me look it up because I was wanting to find it ahead of time.
Because my husband actually asked, he goes, which one are you watching? And I'm like, there is no way you even knew that series existed until right now. Like, don't even try to play with me that you've been watching that shit.
Okay. 1963 to 1967, earlier. It ran on television. There was even a reboot of it, I think, not that long ago.
That now, supposedly 2020, a TV miniseries. And then another series in 2000 to 2001.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing, though, or is it just the same name? Hold on.
Well, yeah. The one in 2000
says
wrongly convicted Dr. Kimball. And then there was another one, which I didn't even know about. No, that's not the same. Okay, there was another Fugitive television series that was, I guess, on Roku, but it is not... It's not the same thing. It's a completely different story.
Okay, is it this one from 2020?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was reading that, like, that doesn't seem the same.
Well, actually, no. Wait a second here.
When the city in a state of panic and misinformation traveling at the speed of social media, Mike's life and family hang in the balance as he becomes the fugitive. Does that sound the same?
Okay, so it does admit that it is a contemporary update to the plot from the 1963 series. So it's the same concept.
A reimagining?
Yeah, same concept in a way, but different. You know, that like they've
Okay.
approached it differently, different characters and what have you. So, okay.
Yeah. The only person I recognize is Kiefer Sutherland,
They
as far as actors go.
Boyd Holbrook, the guy that played the main character. He's been in a lot of stuff here lately. He's oh god damn!
Let me
what was
click
that
his
movie
face.
he was in?
Because I'm never going to remember.
I remember the first time I saw him, he was in Logan. He was like the bad guy
yep.
in that, and then he was in
Justified, apparently, in 8
Justified.
episodes. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which I haven't seen yet, so that's probably
Okay.
why
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him. The Sandman. Who is he in The Sandman? Because I loved that.
That's right. He was in Santa. Who was he?
The Corinthian.
That's right.
That's probably why I didn't recognize him. He had a mouth for eyes.
That's right.
But I loved that character. Ooh, okay. All
Okay.
right.
So multiple iterations of this story. I cannot say that I have any understanding of the series. I've only seen the movie.
Same.
Okay, so I can't compare whether or not. Now I can see how this concept would work as a television series,
Totally. Yeah.
but I also kind of feel like this movie does a very good job in condensing something into a film version of such a simple concept.
yeah.
You know,
Well, does it need all of those episodes, I guess? Like,
Right.
I'm starting to wonder if it would just drag as filler,
yeah, like it seems like
but
he
it
would
came
have-
first.
Well, obviously they probably had like Roy Hudgens. He's the guy who created the character, the concept. So maybe he just thought, you know, he was looking to pitch a story idea. And you remember television back then, you can run stuff for 11 seasons with nothing, and it still works. You're just still
True.
visiting the characters, and that's all that matters.
Well, is it a little after TV stopped, right? 'Cause didn't TV like quit at midnight and come back at like 5 a.m. at some point?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
we just no more shows. We have nothing to show you. Yep.
So to take that concept, and it's a very simple concept. It's about a doctor. And again, we're talking about just the film version. I don't know what other takes some of the
Yeah,
other
like-
shows have. So
I didn't even read the book, so I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's got to be the same if it's based on the book.
maybe. But
Hopefully.
it's about a man named Dr. Richard Kimball, who in this movie is played by Harrison Ford, and he is accused of murdering his wife. And
Yes.
when you take a look at everything that is being presented to you, you can see how that would happen.
Yes.
Especially the phone call.
That's
It bothered me a little bit, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think I understand what it was trying to imply. Like she was trying to speak out, and her brain, obviously, I mean, she had
Oh,
already
shit,
had
yeah.
a brain hemorrhage
Head
at that
injury,
point
yeah.
because she had been smashed in the head with I don't even know what the hell it was. It looked like a solid marble. Just
yeah. There's bleeding going on in there. Yeah, like
So-
she's probably was swelling and all sorts of shit. Yeah.
Perhaps as she's sitting there in her last breath, she's just like, Richard, he's trying to kill me. Please, Richard. Because
Or
he
she
was,
just wanted her husband.
but
You know, like
but-
she could have just been like, I want Richard. Give me my husband. He can help me. He's a doctor. I don't know.
Well, what I was going to say is she probably heard him in the house because he had
Oh, that
walked
too.
in and he was already yelling at her or yelling for her. It's like, hey, are you up there? Da, da, da. So again, in her head, she probably thought in the moment,
Yeah, please
Richard.
find me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here. So, but again, the way it all kind of was framed was that she was saying, Richard is trying to kill me.
Yeah.
On
And
the phone.
she was making a 911 phone call.
Yes.
Because I think we just said on the phone. So after she had been attacked and hit and fell down, she was trying to call the police and they were playing back her 911 call. And that's
Right.
where she was saying Richard. And so they were like, well, obviously he killed her because that's who she was seeing or something, you know?
And then we pretty much go through the next, 6 months, I guess, where goes to trial.
Yeah.
He gets convicted,
Death sentence.
death sentence, and then he's on a bus to being transported to whatever prison he's going to die in,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
he was-
And I don't know how you feel about it. Like, I don't want to jump the gun on this, but I realized this movie does not stop.
No.
Like
No.
it is non-stop. So you already kind of feel like you're already in the middle of a ride once you get started because they're already giving you everything set up. Then we have like a brief little reprieve when he's being interrogated. But even that is intense.
Yeah.
You know, because you're trying to figure out, like, okay, what are the cops trying to look for here? What are they trying to dig for? And you feel like that the way they structured their questions and everything was in a way to try and get him to say something a certain way, or maybe
definitely.
admit, and then they've got that hook.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, I didn't know this until a recent viewing, trying to dig up trivia for just fun little things that I thought would be fun. Apparently, that was an unscripted scene.
The whole interrogation?
Well,
Or just...
I think the cops maybe had some questions, but Harrison Ford did not know what they were going to ask. So his responses were genuine to what was going on. So that kind of confusion, not sure what to say.
Ooh, smart.
Yeah.
If he can handle that. Not all actors can handle improv like that, but hey, kudos.
Yeah, he nailed it. And then of course, obviously the tension that builds once he feels implicated, like you're trying to say I killed my wife. I mean, who wouldn't snap?
Unfortunately, it usually is the husband. So they start there. So I know it's not fair, but
it's
stop killing your wives, guys. I don't know. And we'll stop,
stop
stop
doing
accusing
it,
you.
sons of bitches.
I mean, you shouldn't be anyway, you know.
But I mean, I feel like this movie really does paint, and at a time, again, 30 years ago, we weren't really talking about this as much as we are today. Like the miscarriage of justice, how the police are just so quick to judge and point the finger at one person, and clearly, well, I don't want to say clearly.
I mean, it would have been a tough call, I think, if I were the cops on that scene and listening to everything, maybe.
The scene itself, the evidence, I can understand what would be troublesome because, again, he touched everything, so his fingerprints were all over the place.
It is his house. That was the one thing that bothered me, too. His fingerprints on everything. He fucking lives there. Like, of course his...
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Like, that part just bothered me.
But I think the part that bothers me the most is you have all these people that we get to meet throughout the movie who knew him, who clearly had to have been interrogated by the police about his character. Yeah. And yet they didn't take any of that into account. Not a bit.
And wasn't he in surgery? Wouldn't that be kind of an alibi?
Well,
Well, I guess when she was attacked, I guess it was all kind of on top of each other. Huh?
Yeah, there was a we'll get to it. Because I remember there was some evidence and things that kind of explained the hows and whys and whatnot. But I think, I know what you're talking about. Because I had some of those very questions. Because the more I've watched this over years, I've started to pick it apart and not to kind of be like, look, there's a flaw. But really just to admire how well crafted it is. Because I feel like it's very tight. And
it is.
There's
not a wasted scene.
And like I said, non-stop. I mean, even when the action does kind of ease down for a moment, kind of give you a breather, it picks back up and it's intense. And the tension is still in the air, which I love. Those are the movies that I love to rewatch again and again. Like I mentioned, I think Jaws a few weeks ago, where I can watch this movie and I know what's going to happen, but I still feel that tension. Like that's well crafted.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Well crafted.
Very much so. Even as ridiculous as some of the situations may have been.
Sure.
But I think that's just Harrison Ford's MO.
Well, let's talk about that one because the very first insane thing that happened, which
how he becomes a fugitive in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's on the bus being transported to whatever prison he's going
whatever
to.
prison it is. Yeah.
And then you've got character actor. I don't know if you know this guy, and I hope I say his name right, but I've never really looked into it. Richard Reel. He's that guy, kind of short, stocky, bald with the mustache, and he talks like this. He's like, "Come on, get over there. Come on."
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah.
So he's always kind of I don't want to say he's an asshole at times, but he always plays a guy that you're just like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, like he's like playing the sides, whichever he's going to benefit from.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he tried to help and then folded.
Yeah, he folded pretty damn bad.
Quick. Yeah. But anyway,
so
getting ahead of ourselves.
Some of the prisoners are planning an escape, and they one of the guys starts foaming at the mouth, doing a choking thing or whatever, and of course everybody's like, you gotta come help him. Get one of the guards back there.
The one cop was very smart. He's like, "Don't you do it, man."
He told him.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
But I think that was the naivete of the guard because
The
I
new
felt
guard.
like he seemed a little green, or what do you call it, wet behind the ears.
Yeah, I think both would work.
Yeah.
However,
But then he gets stabbed.
Yeah.
But not fatally. It was more, where was it? Kind of in the gut somewhere.
yeah, I mean, bad enough that, he's out.
He's down.
Like
yeah.
he can no longer help. But yeah, and then dude was like, I'm gonna help with a shotgun all stupidly while the bus is still moving side to side and all this kind of stuff, and hits nobody.
No. Except maybe the driver or somebody hits the driver.
Somebody hit the driver. You're right. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like he got shot. And then, when you have nobody behind a bus driving it proper, it's going to wreck. And it does.
It does. Yep. And it does. Yeah.
Wrecks on railroad tracks. Because
Of course it does. And it rolls. We didn't even talk about that. Like, it rolled.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it rolled down the side of a hill. And of course, where it stopped was on a set of train tracks. Because of course it would.
I'll save that until we
Okay.
get past where we are. All right. So yeah, they get on there, and then Kimball, he actually told, or like the one guard asked him to help, and he was like, "Hey,
aren't you a doctor?
Yeah, you're a doctor. Get over here." And he was like, "Give me the keys." So he unlocks his hands. I wish he'd unlocked his other chains, but it's for the action sequence we're about to hit.
Right. Yeah.
So he gets over there, he's trying to help, and then of course, once they hear the train, one cop bails, and there was the other surviving cellmate,
Yeah.
the big dude, and
Big
he
dude, big guy.
bails because he's like, I ain't gonna fucking help no cop. So
Right.
now,
And since Kimball isn't actually a killer,
yeah, Kimball is now trying to get this guy off this bus before the train smashes it. So he's got to not only save this guy, but save himself. So he pretty much chucks him out a window, and he goes rolling down a hill. And then at the exact moment that the train is about to hit, he jumps off.
He jumps.
This is pre-CGI goodness,
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Because that actually happened. It was one time. You gotta make this shit count. This is a one-time only wreck. And it's still
we
there
can afford
today.
one. Yep.
They said it's now a tourist attraction wherever they film that. So
Well, leave it. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay.
It's a hell of
the
a-
tracks are dead.
it's a hell of a wreck.
Well, and then the only thing I could think of too is like as soon as he hoisted him out of the window, and he does the jump,
Yeah.
right? But then it jumps the tracks. And then all I kept thinking is, well, we just crushed the guy he threw out of the window.
Well, see,
I know, but like,
Katrina
like all of
had
that
that. Katrina had that same thought, and I said,
Like,
"All right,
welp.
well, take a look at it like this. So, from the point where he chucked him out the bus window to where the train actually does jump, he would have been away from that. Now, there are other cars that could have
But it was-
derailed and flipped. I get it.
because the joke I made, because it was so long, and I'm like, some people say that it's still wrecking until this day. It's just so many cars that kept falling off the train. I'm like, how long was this fucking train?
It was pretty long.
Yeah,
At least
it's
looked like it.
still it's still wrecking till this day.
So, yeah, he gets survives miraculously. Luckily, he found like it wasn't a bridge. Just a little.
Yeah, he definitely found something to tuck himself under that, was not crushed by the train somehow. Although I feel like he'd been stuck in the debris, but movie magic, I'll accept it. It's fine.
Yeah. So he gets loose. He bumps back into his former cellmate, who's actually being helpful. Gave him the keys, unlocked his legs.
Well, he was
Leg
like, I'll
chains.
help you as long as you don't follow me.
Yeah. Don't care
I'm
where you
going this
go.
way, you do your thing. Yeah, I don't care where it is, just not with me. Like, all right.
Now, fun fact, while we're on this scene, Harrison Ford, and I don't know if you noticed this too, but it makes so much more sense knowing it now, because I noticed it throughout the movie, and I just thought, that's how he runs. Apparently, during that scene where Harrison Ford is running through the woods, he injured his leg and damaged some ligaments.
Oh, shit.
So they told him he needed to go get surgery, and he's like, no, I'll do it after we're done, because I want to keep this limp.
Oh, look at this big guy taking one for the team.
So when you see him running and it looks like he has a limp, or maybe he's not running at top speed or something like that, that's why he's
There
running
you
with a
go.
limp.
Hey, that's a way to be what do they call it, like what's the name of the acting where they just like, I have to live the life method. There you go. Yeah. Very method. Very method.
So at that point, this is where things really get amped up. Like you thought it was amped up. No, we're now getting amped up.
Now we're on the chase.
Because this is about the time we see the cops come in, and then we get introduced to our, I would say, I mean, they could be our antagonists, but I still feel like they're our protagonists too. Because they're not bad people. They're just doing their job.
Right. Yeah. Like, prisoners escaped. I need to collect these prisoners. And that's what you do.
Right. So we get the U.S. Marshals dropped in. And how do you feel about this group? Because I love them. You know?
I mean, I loved the back and forth. I mean, I feel they had to make the cops as insanely stupid as humanly possible to make it work. You know, and so I kind of hate when you make people stupid for plot. But regardless, you are correct. I enjoyed the U.S. Marshals side of it. You know, like I feel like the cops were supposed to be dumb to make this whole situation work, you know. But when you bring in like top of the line Tommy Lee Jones, he was probably one of my favorite things to watch in the entire thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a good actor, but man, you just forget sometimes when you get to go back to some of his stuff and you're like, damn, he's good.
There was a reason he won an Oscar for this role.
God, he was so good.
Because he owns this fucking role.
Fucking hated.
And I even admit that the crew that he has with him, his other marshals, I feel like they all have unique personalities, and they feed off of each other in all the right ways that it just makes it cohesive. And that's what I like about this
Like, he might be barking, doing all this kind of stuff, but they're all doing their part.
Yeah. There's not a weak link among them. They're just, they all have their own ways and approaches and views on things. And I think it's funny because, again, we go back to Gerard, who Tommy Lee Jones is. He's like the case is important. We got a mission. We're going to get it done. Law, order, justice. That's him. 100%. Now, Joe Pantoliano's character, Cosmo, he seems like he questions things. You know, like he's always questioning Sam, like not in a bad way. It's almost like he's trying to make sure. So you think this?
That might be their process.
Yeah, like he's just. So you think this? Or you think that? You think that's okay? Like he making sure, almost trying to ensure that you think you're on the right path. You think your thought process is good. I'm trying to think. The three others. Newman, I think, was the newest addition to the group because he seemed very wet behind the ears. Yeah, and then
what's
Poole,
her name?
Who was the one lady of the group. She seemed like the mother hen, you know, as it were. Like she knew her job. She was always.
But to show up in heels that first time was stupid. I was like, lady, look, come on. Yeah. You got to be smarter than that. Right. Don't hate your feet. Put on some sneakers and let's get to work. You know, like, come on. But it's not, I know women were supposed to always wear heels.
Of course. But finally, and not least or anything, Daniel Roebuck is one of those character actors that you know, but you might not know from what, but you've seen him in just about any and everything. And I feel like he's, I don't want to say he's the comic relief, but he did seem like he was the sillier out of the group, if you will. Like, what was that one scene where they were talking, where he was just sitting there processing everything in his head, and he kept saying hinky, and then finally he turned, he was like, hinky, what is hinky? Why are you saying hinky? He's like, I don't know, it means strange. He's like, well, don't say that. It's like, just say strange or weird.
Like, why aren't you
have no meaning.
Oh God, if they were around today.
Oh God, yeah. So I mean, I know that it's not as beloved as this movie, but the sequel they did to this movie, like I'm not trying to change subjects, just trying to point it out. I think there was a genuine idea that was spawned just seeing this group together, and thought, you know, that would be a great movie. Is actually just seeing them do another case, focus on them, because again, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones won an Oscar. He's already knocking it out of the park. So let's do a movie around that. I thought it was a great, fun time. You know, I can't say that it was better than this or on par with it, but I thought it was a good movie that gets to showcase this crew again and I thought it was fun. So
Yeah.
if you,
I never saw the second one, so I don't know. I'll defer to you on that.
yeah, I'd recommend it. I remember having it on DVD, like when DVDs were the new hot thing.
Yeah.
So it was one of my first ones. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'd like to know how I would feel about it today. So I might have to dig it up and watch it again because, again, I think the strength of that movie is the group. So now
the ensemble,
you're getting to actually see them work together on something different. And it's not focused on Harrison Ford's character as much, so to speak. Or at all, because he's not in the goddamn thing.
I was just going to say, was he even in that one? Yeah.
Point being, they go there, they start doing their investigations. Of course, the cops are just being all standoffish and be like, you just wait just
how
one
they always
second.
do. You're taking over my jurisdiction.
Yeah, he got
got
so fucking ill, that guy. He was just like, all right, everybody, y'all shut it down. Come over here. Wyatt Earp's here to take over.
Yeah, no. And I feel like that's probably kind of accurate. I feel like if you got those types of groups together, they probably do fight over who owns what. I don't know.
Yeah,
it feels very alpha. I don't know.
I could be wrong. No, I'd say you're very much on point because, come on. You got two people
you got me in here to help us out. Oh,
I'm in charge here, not you. And then, someone puts their authority and says, actually,
I think my exact words were, both of them are very large gentlemen. You're great. Come on, let's move on. They're both lovely and huge. You're good. You're good.
So those were, I think that crew was state deputies. But then, that was the first ones that they had to encounter. But then they had to start dealing with the Chicago PD. And those two were the guys who got him convicted. And I feel like the only reason they got all ass hurt about everything is like, no, we solved this case. We don't. It's our thing. So that again becomes, it's not about what's right or wrong or anything like that. It's just the power struggle at that point.
Well, because the one cop did lie to actually try to help Richard Kimball at first. So the cop that ran out like a chicken, if you will, from the train, was being questioned by the police when the marshals are, first being introduced to the movie and said nobody survived it.
Yeah.
Like that was what he was going with. He knew the doctor left, but I think just trying to give him a solid, for trying to help and get away. And then, it was found out that he wasn't. And then he's like, oh, well, he might have gotten away. And then that's when the cop lost his mind. Like, what? You told me, why were you lying to me? You're telling them something, so, and then, now they're fighting because of course you would. Like I asked the same question, sir,
Yeah. But everything escalates at that point. He had already been kind of on the run for, I think they said a few hours at that point.
Couple hours, yeah.
So he'd gotten into a town, gets him some new clothes. I guess it was very smart of him to go straight to the hospital, even though that was probably a risky move.
Well, you wouldn't think why would he go back to there?
Right.
Yeah.
But smart to do so because, again, being a doctor, he knows exactly where all the medical kits would be, the things he would need to kind of treat himself because he is injured.
Hurt. Yeah.
And so figured all that out. The only part that I didn't understand is they showed him go into one of the rooms where goddamn, come on, words. Went into a room with medicines, bandages, and all that stuff, supplies, what have you, whatever he needed. But then they transitioned to him being in a patient's room.
Yeah.
But it was such an odd transition that we never got a cut of him going in there. It was just, now I'm here. Now I'm shaving. Now I've got new clothes. It's like, where's
unless we were supposed to think he grabbed all of that stuff, went in there first, and he was in there the whole time. But I feel like he should have showed us that.
Yeah, I felt like there was an odd, when did you step foot in this room and get in here? And did you steal this old man's clothes? Or like you said, did he grab him somewhere else? Was it his razor you used? I mean, the man doesn't look like he's getting up to shave anytime soon, but still.
Well, I feel like the old man's sweater kind of gave it away for me, but I just found it very hilarious, after the nurse left, because, there's always that, ooh, he's about to get caught moment, when he hides behind the door or whatever. And then the nurse leaves and he comes out, eats all of his food.
And and now look, I know that you're probably, well, no, I mean, you shave. You maybe not your face.
I shave my legs once in a while. Yeah. Less these days, but
He did use shaving cream, did he not?
You know what? I don't remember, but I feel like he would have had to. Well, he cut first.
Yeah.
his
but
beard because it was so long. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he did.
he had shaving cream. So wouldn't you think that smell would have just been lingering in the room? 'Cause
Totally.
shaving cream smells. It's
Yes,
a
it
good
does.
smell.
And it hangs on y'all's face for a long damn time.
It does. So it was a little, again, it's a minor little thing, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I feel like that smell would have been in that room. So when she walked in to fill up the water, she'd been like, huh, that's odd.
You weren't getting up
Yeah.
because it looked like a bedbound patient.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
But yeah,
you
he
know,
ate-
movie magic again, like I said.
Ate the fuck out of all his food.
Yeah, he did. And staring at him. I think that's why I laughed, because he's just like staring at him from the side, hurrying up, trying to get all the food in his mouth. Like, what's the guy going to do when he wakes up anyway? Like, I guess maybe he could yell, but.
Yeah. But smartly, I'll give him credit. And this is why I like his character. He always seems like he's thinking ahead. Like, as he has now kind of made a transformation, as it were.
And by the way, I want to mention, dyes his hair black.
Yeah. No, but that was a little bit later, though.
Is it?
Like, yeah, because in this moment, he was just trying to, I guess, lose the beard
I
so
guess maybe he didn't have
people
any
wouldn't
dye
be,
yet.
you know, obviously people
They're
are
looking for a
guy
bearded
with
man.
beard.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for a moment. And then when he walks out, he looks like a doctor. He's got the
Sure.
coffee, you know, with him.
Yeah,
He's
I don't
got
know
his
why
little-
he had all that, because I thought he just changed into the patient's clothes. So I'm a little confused why the coat then now.
Well, did he? Well, it was just the cardigan, wasn't it? That he was wearing, or did he have
Maybe.
a lab coat? Because he had,
Shoot.
he did have the stethoscope. I think that's what
Yes.
made him look more like a doctor and everything. So he's walking down. So already that look, I mean, when that cop does approach him, obviously it's like, oh, he's a doctor. He's in the hospital. He's
Sure.
yeah, that's a doctor. So I thought
And
that
he
was very
is.
clever. But his stupid move here was stealing that damn ambulance, because surely to
Oh my God, right?
they're going to be looking for that. Now, granted, he's trying to get away. I understand, but you stole an ambulance, dude.
I feel like he could have walked a very good long while before anyone would have noticed.
Yeah, because again, they're still looking for a bearded man, and you're not that anymore. So just disappear.
It isn't that okay, because I got a good chuckle at this, because if it is that the same scene where the cop that we found did not actually get crushed by the train that
Yeah.
he threw out comes
Yeah.
out, because I loved that when Kimball's character tells them, oh, you need to check, I don't know, something puncture down here, blah blah blah, and then they're like, how did he know that from looking at his face? It was just such a fun throwaway line that they did that I remember folding. I'm like, that was good. That's a fun one.
So yeah, now he kind of paints a target on his back. He's now running in an ambulance again. I understand the logic of it all, trying to get away as fast as you can, but you stole an ambulance. You just
I feel
painted
like-
a big target on your back.
Hell yeah.
Then this turns into a huge chase scene. You got cops coming after him. The U.S. Marshals are coming after him. Finally get
Helicopters.
yeah, choppers, and the music. That's another thing too. The music is intense. Like, it builds everything, and you just feel that tension. So I feel like that just adds to everything. The score in this is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And gets trapped in a traffic tunnel. I guess that's what you call them. I don't really know what you call them.
Some like an underpass or through pass or whatever.
Yeah,
like
looked like
we
it was
drilled
going-
into a mountain so we could go through it.
Right.
Yes,
Into
those
a mountain.
things. Yeah.
Which is where this leads to probably the most famous, most I don't want to say ridiculed, but mocked, parodied scene.
The one
that-
I already had said. Yeah.
yeah, out of this entire movie.
Yes.
It is fantastic. It is a little bit like, but for the sake of the movie, you could just be like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
Surely to God, they did their research. It's like, what are the odds good? Is it impossible? And if somebody said no, it's like, okay, then. I'll
take that.
Fair. It's not impossible. So Kimball gets chased into the sewers. Like, he sneaks away cleverly.
Oh yeah. Well, because the helicopter blocked him, so now he actually can't get out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're all running around in the tunnel, and he goes into the sewer. Yeah.
They pretty much got him pinned, so he goes down in the sewers. They start chasing him. He does try to do a thing where he tries to trick one, going one way, one the other, but I didn't. I feel like he needed to work on that a little bit better, because I felt like he threw the coat outside of their eyesight, so
Yeah.
why would you...
Like, you were counting on them going that direction first.
Yeah. But they didn't, so they split
No.
up. Obviously, Tommy Lee Jones comes after him, and we get... he's not as graceful, but he finally makes it. And of course, he slips down this tunnel that Kimball's already come down, and he drops his gun. And then here we have another one of these scenes that I feel like got parodied or something like that, but not as much. But
I don't care.
Yeah, he picks up the gun. And he's like, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
Which was apparently not the line he was supposed to say. Apparently he was supposed to say something like, I'm just doing my job or something like that. But I don't care is so much better.
And especially later on when it gets used again.
Yeah.
I feel like it would not have worked with that same line, with the same impact. Not at all. Nope. So genius.
And it does seem very much like, I feel like Tommy Lee Jones knew this character. And again, I don't feel like he's not a bad guy. And I don't feel like his saying, I don't care, was anything beyond
like I don't care about your wife.
Yeah, I don't know the situation. All I know is that you are a fugitive from the law, and this is my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
We can talk about all that other shit later, but right now, this is the situation. I don't care. You have to come with me. End of story.
Yep.
So he gets away or runs farther down the tunnels until he gets to the exit tunnel, where we see he's at the edge of the dam. And then, of course...
Yeah. A huge dam.
Huge.
He's standing up at the top of it. Yep.
Are you familiar with this dam at all? Like, is this in Illinois somewhere? Are you aware of it?
I mean, I believe so. Because, I mean, all of the scenery, I was like, yep. I could tell you exactly where they were at. So they definitely filmed this in Chicago. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Some of this stuff doesn't exist anymore. But no, I've never gone to it, though. I've never,
Well... As they get there,
it would have to be on the outskirts, by the way, too. So they're probably like in the burbs at this point, you know.
So in that scene, everything kind of gets intensified. You don't know what's going to happen. And of course, if you've never seen the movie, you're just like, he's done.
I knew he was going to do that. Because movies.
It seems like it's a scene they shouldn't have promoted, because I remember seeing that scene on the television before I saw it.
Oh,
and
yeah?
Of course, that's a selling point. They're just like, look what he did. So obviously you want to share that with everybody. But again, I feel like it would have been a nice treat to
Stop
not
spoiling
know.
your movies.
And he jumps off this dam and survives somehow.
Yeah.
And again,
and like manages to not hit the side of the dam, nothing. Like, I'm just like, it curves down.
And he didn't do a wide jump. He dove.
It looked like he was sliding. Just like it's a water slide at this point. And I'm like, all right, fine. Could humans survive it? Probably. As well as he did? No, shit would have been broken. Something would have been bad. Something would have been dislocated or missing from your body.
Agreed. And what's funny is I actually, despite whether or not believable or not, because again, I would have to say someone did the research, and it's like,
I imagine humans have survived some crazy shit, so it's possible.
Yeah, very, very possible. So no matter what the odds are, he survives. But the scene with all the cops are just like, nah, he's dead, he's fish food. The fact that Gerard, I 100% agree with him. It's like, okay, well, if he's dead, then go get his body. That's all you got to do.
Then it should be real easy.
Yeah, this is easy. So, yeah, I would have been the same thing. Doesn't matter if you think he's
Proof
dead.
of death.
Go get me the body, let me see it, and then I'll go home happy. Doesn't matter.
Yep. And y'all can have the night off. We're done. Yep.
Now, it was around this point that I feel like the movie, I don't want to say hit the brakes, but it felt like this is where it slowed for a moment. Because now he got away. Now he's trying to acclimate himself into different things, but also trying to figure out what he needs to do, where he needs to go. He gets himself a little apartment. It was around this
garden
time.
Apartment, by the way, is what we call those. Oh, it's not a basement; it's a garden.
Sure, it looked like a basement to me.
Oh, it's definitely a basement. I think they just sell it to you as a garden unit to sound nicer instead of sticking you in the basement.
And they did a very interesting thing, which I appreciated. Is they did a bit of a misdirect, because there was a scene right after that where I think it was around this time, like you said, he found dyed his hair, got him some new clothes or whatever, and he was just walking down the highway. Car pulls up and says, need a ride. Then they cut to the marshals saying that, he got picked up, a woman took him home, yada, yada. And so you're thinking, oh, okay. So they found Kimball. And then you see a raid into the house. Get into the house. Not Kimball.
Nope.
And it's the other guy. And we're like, oh, Oh.
They were after the landlord's kids.
Yeah. Well, no.
Like,
I meant the other inmate. Remember there was that scene.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well,
So
there was
were
a
they-
couple misdirects then, because that's the one I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, they did a few. So there was that one to begin with. So you're just like, wait a minute. Oh, shit, they're going to find him. But then we find out they found the other inmate that escaped. And that was an intense scene, but
Oh, my God.
I love
Yeah.
that bit right at the end after they had taken him down and that woman started screaming. And he just turns to her and is like, shut up. And he just walk out. And that was it.
Yep.
Shut up.
I mean, yep. Like, we're done. It's over. Shut up. I can't listen to you anymore. Yep.
So,
Well, I mean, I think it was the caricature version of it too, where she was just like, "Ah!" like for the sake of it, like nothing's even happening anymore. And she's still just like wailing. And it's like, yeah, shut up, lady. Like, okay, you just shot him. So I'll shut up.
and
And
then
go to jail for harboring a fugitive.
So all of that gets done. And I think it was around this time that, Kimball got his own little, like you said, basement apartment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's trying to get into the hospital where the big hospital, because I've heard this Cook County Hospital seems to be like the big thing that everyone likes to use in Chicago when it comes to hospitals.
They do. I don't know. That and the L. Like we'll see a lot of subway shots that people love to do. And it's obnoxious, by the way, because they're literally in the L stop and we can't do anything. So stop it. The rest of us still have to get places is all I'm saying. Chicago PD was the worst. I was like, will you stop doing the blue line so I can, anyway.
Yeah, they talked about the L quite a bit in the movie, which I was surprised at. I don't know shit about them. I don't live near one, but
it's it's the subway, but it's elevated, so people call it like a lot of ours is like built over instead of under, like New York's is.
Gotcha. But
he
infiltrates the hospital, which was that the hospital he worked at? Because I felt like that was a risky move. You know?
For sure, because wasn't that where I'm gonna have to look at the IMDb here. Charles Nichols. Isn't that where he was at?
That's what I thought. And it just feels like a very risky move, despite it being a big hospital.
All of it was a risky move.
Yeah, but the fact that you are Richard Kimball, you worked at this hospital. Now, again, I don't know if this was the hospital, but if you worked here, people are going to know you.
Well, I feel like it's right. Because when I saw what's her name, because it was the first time I think I remembered seeing her in a role where she wasn't just being like overly comedic. Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch, yeah.
So, and I mean, he walked into her room and they worked together. So I think he did. I think it was. So, or at least it feels like it from, her being interviewed earlier talking about working with him. And she's like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't tell me anything, like he knows I would probably say something or something like, but then he shows up to her anyway. So,
and you know what I want to give credit to the filmmakers for, because I feel like this was a very smart move, because if you left this shit in, it would have been such a bad idea. Apparently there were extended scenes or sequences where either he was going to have like a romantic interest in Julianne Moore's character, who we haven't talked about yet. But then there was also this implication that he and Jane Lynch's character had been an item at some point. And I thought, if you introduce that in this movie and play that into a scene.
Considering the plot?
Yeah, exactly. Considering the plot, you would lose people.
We would want him caught now just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Like, well, he's not even a good husband. Screw that,
Exactly.
Like, maybe he doesn't deserve to go to jail and die because of being a cheater. But still, we would not have as much sympathy.
Exactly. So you have to keep those things into account.
Is that in the book?
I don't know.
Now I'm curious if that was part of the book plot, because otherwise I'm like, dumb. That would be dumb.
It wouldn't be that surprising to me, because in the novelization of Jaws, here's a great, like, mind fucker to you. Hooper, the character Richard Dreyfuss plays, which, if you've heard anything about him, we're going to scoot past that for a moment, because, I don't know, he lost his mind. But anyway, his character and Mrs. Brody apparently had an affair in the book. So it was just like, why? Like, apparently, completely different characterizations because Mrs. Brody seemed like she was a homely home wife or something like that. Like she didn't have any excitement. And then here comes Matt Hooper. He was supposed to be this young, handsome young man. And he just drove these desires in her. And of course, he didn't do anything to be like, you're married, woman. He was like, I'll hit that. And then he does. Yeah. And I don't know. It's bizarre. Doesn't fit within the context of the movie.
No,
So
because it's like, I want to kind of look at it still as this little love story kind of still too.
Yeah.
Like he's got to get justice for his wife.
Yeah. Even at the end of the day, I mean, by the end of the movie, it still doesn't change the fact. It's like he's bringing his wife back to life.
No,
he just wanted justice.
Exactly. He's like, I know if I see the dude who killed her, I would know because I saw him. Yeah. And it was very genius because I don't even know that we mentioned how he was getting on the trail. Because whatever they were interviewing about him being one-armed.
Yeah.
And the guy had fake arm. I know there's a better prosthetic. Mm-hmm. And that was how he was deducing down who it was. Yeah. Because he had figured out with his memory of attacking the guy with what kind of joint, I guess, the prosthetic had. Mm-hmm. He looks into the research of how many of these were even made, how many of these even went to people in the area. And so he was narrowing it down that way until he got to like 2 people.
Handful.
Yeah. Just kind of, I believe that could be the case, but everyone kept talking about how he's smart. He's smart. He'll be under your nose and you won't catch him. And here you go.
And obviously the risk that he made, I mean, obviously a lot of it was nothing more than phone calls, but the risk he took going to visit the one that he found was in prison, I feel like that's where your brain would go. Like, they're already a criminal. Therefore, it has to be that guy. So you can understand taking that risk because you're thinking, it would be a fucking criminal, of course. Yeah. And upon seeing the man, I think he did make himself just a tad suspicious, getting almost up immediately and be like, no, I got to go. He should have just at least kind of explained, said, hey, I thought maybe that you were another person. I saw your name. I called some people. I thought that was you. Clearly, I was mistaken. I apologize. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. He just almost got up immediately and was like, sorry, I got to go.
Yeah, you're not who I need. No. I'm leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe smart in some regards because got to get going. But at the same time, made yourself a little suspicious having to do that.
Yeah. It's like, why are you interested in me, sir? All right.
Now, keep in mind, if you've not watched this movie, we kind of glossed this over. Getting all this information in the hospital, obviously this is what he was doing. He disguised himself as a janitor. Even made a fake little name tag or whatever so he could.
And it's at this point of the movie where he no longer has black hair. It bothered me so much that they did this whole hullabaloo of watching him dye it for it to be black for that scene.
Yeah. It was very black. And then,
why did we bother with dyeing his hair if you weren't going to keep it up for the rest of the movie, or at least some of the movie?
Yeah, some of it at least.
I feel like his hair was black then and then never again.
I never thought about it, but I think you're right, yeah.
It bothered me so hard.
It does go back gray, I think, by the end.
Yeah.
So it's not like it grew
putting
out.
that scene in? Like, yeah, come on.
But he does, there was another scene in that where he was at the hospital. And I think this is like right about the time. Was this like right after he got found out? I'm trying to remember the events here because there was a scene where the hospital was like way overcrowded, like there were just people everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think this is about the time that he was about to get caught because the police had raided the apartment that he was at, and they're just like, you're telling me that he was here, and then the hospital got very busy, so then they found him there and chased him out.
But didn't he call them?
Not at that point.
Because I feel like he was super close. Okay.
Not at that point. Because at that point, he was still trying to deduce who it was. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like right after that, he had the one last name, and then that turned into who he was after. But that scene where he actually saved that boy who was in the hospital, like all these doctors were sitting there looking at the x-rays and shit, and they're just like, it'll be fine. Yeah. And he's a doctor. He's seeing all this shit.
Which, a doctor told him, by the way. So he is dressed like a janitor. They are super busy, short-staffed, I'm imagining, which is why. And so Dr. Anne, Julianne's character, asked him to push the kid who was on, the gurney or whatever to the floor to get surgery or something.
No, she said observation.
Oh.
Yeah. So like,
Oh, so he just took it. Okay.
Yeah, take him to
Yeah.
observation room, whatever, and he was like, fuck that. So as he's going off, he's looking at the film, seeing what's wrong, seeing that this kid is indeed needing some medical attention now, and does all the orders, takes him right up to the OR, and is like, hey, here's an emergency. And they're just like, okay, we got to go. And the fact that he knew what to write, again, I know he's a doctor, but again, to do it without anyone questioning it until after the fact. Like,
well, nobody saw him writing it, I guess. So as soon as he showed up to, surgery or whatever it was, all they're seeing is these orders. I'm like, okay, the kid probably isn't even registering what he's doing. He's a kid,
But wouldn't you think that, again, I've never worked in a hospital. I don't know shit. Okay. I'm thinking on the moment. So if you got orders from a specific doctor, wouldn't that have to be signed by said doctor? Wouldn't you kind of recognize a doctor's handwriting?
You would hope so. But their handwriting is notoriously garbage.
Again, I don't know.
Or maybe they were just like, we knew it was a hurry. We need to get this kid taken care of, and then we'll try to figure out the rest of that later. It's like how I would hope is what happened.
Well, I mean, it's no different than what, like you said, the doctor that sent him up there, Julianne Moore's character. I mean, she saw him looking at the film. She could have said something right then and there, but she didn't. She was still focused on her patients. So, and after the fact thing, it's fine. And she even admitted he saved the boy's life.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, she was going to get him caught. So it was kind of her fault.
Yeah.
Both ways. So asked him to do it, and then finds out that, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. Why are you looking at his film? What did you do? You didn't listen to me. And then she calls security or whatever, Yeah. And then she's like, well, my bad. I'm the doctor who sucks, is basically what she should have been like. I thought he just needed, I don't know, an inhaler. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. It's just, at least acknowledge what he did for the child.
If we notice how many lives that he saved and how many Gerard killed, just saying, who's the bad guy?
Good point. But yeah, around this, after all that big hullabaloo goes down, then we finally get Kimball focused on his last target. So when he goes into this apartment of the guy who he suspects, the last name on his list, he starts seeing very familiar things, names, people that he's met. And then it's like all these pieces start to come together. And then that's when he calls the U.S. Marshals directly. And then they have that conversation and leads them there by not hanging up the phone. It's like, I want you guys to come see this. Because he's like, remember what you said to me. I don't care. I do care. Found a big puzzle piece. Come here. And I appreciate that, too, that they didn't make the U.S. Marshals...
He didn't seem like he cared what was going to happen to him. He just wanted them to catch his wife's killer.
Right. And they didn't have to entertain this at all, because it's not important to them. But the fact that they were just like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe we'll dig into it a little bit, because they did acknowledge he's risking his life. Well, I don't think anyone acknowledged. It was a reporter, I think, talking to the Chicago PD, is like, he keeps coming back to Chicago doing all this. Do you think maybe, he might be innocent? And they're like, no, fuck that. He's guilty.
He's just doing this to be, I don't know. Yeah, why was he doing it then, sir?
Exactly.
What was the benefit to it all? And of course, it could be explained away a little bit, too, that they're going to follow that lead in the hopes to find Kimball. Like, well, if he's after this guy, maybe we should head for this guy, and Kimball's going to surface.
Yeah.
So I can rationalize it away at least that way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
but I mean,
it.
all the pieces fit. Like, he knew that he had his guy, but it was the why. That was the big kicker. Because even when you found out who the guy was, you're like, okay,
why?
But why?
Yeah. What did she do to you, man?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, nothing made any sense. So once you start getting all the puzzle pieces together, it starts to come together. So come to find out, and it might seem a little ridiculous, but I don't know. When we see, I'm not saying anything direct, but when you see some things happening with Boeing right now, people are dying mysteriously when they're whistleblowers.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Doesn't feel that far-fetched.
Doesn't. No.
So what happened here, according to, as I understand it, there was a drug being run through the trials and tests or whatever, and they found out that it was causing, what was it specifically? there was
I can't remember now.
a verse side effect. It wasn't good.
Whatever it was helping seemed to be hurting something else just as much, or if not more. So, yeah.
And based on all the trial runs that they were doing, this is the findings that Kimball had found while using this drug. And so all of his reports were coming through saying, do not use this because it's causing this problem in the patient. So we need not to do that. However, there were other people and a lot of money, involved.
Oh, yeah.
So they were just like, okay, well, we're going to trash all this and still push it through because, money is what's important here. And we're going to have to take care of a few people to do it. So the idea, I think, was to kill Richard. However, it didn't quite work out that way.
She was there. Yeah. Because he was supposed to just go home.
Yeah.
But then he got called to surgery.
He got called to surgery. And what had happened, this is what I found out, kind of talking about the timeline that you were talking about. There was a phone call made from Kimball's car to the killer, Sykes. That's the connection they were trying. So I think it was a frame job from the jump because it made it look like Kimball knew Sykes. Because he called him from the phone, but it was actually Charles Nichols who did the call because he had a key to Kimball's car. So he was able to get in there and...
Which that was disappointing because at first you really were like, this dude's in his corner. Mm-hmm. He's helping him out. He's not narking on him. He's trying... Damn, man.
Yep.
Damn.
He was the bad guy all along. Mm-hmm. All for the almighty dollar. Allowed his wife to be killed or pretty much orchestrated the whole thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then here we are. It got... Yeah. It might seem a little rote by today's standards. I'm sure everybody thinks it needs to be some big, outrageous plot that was. But
capitalism will always be a good plot point because we like to do that to people for money. Yeah.
And one of the smartest things that they also had him do, because this is one of those scenes that could have easily just been, well, we're going to play this straight. They're going to have a big brawl out. But he approached him in this big arena where Charles Nichols
he was giving a speech about the drug, right?
Yeah, about the drug. And it's
think about a hotel, a bunch of people are sitting around in one of those banquet rooms that he's doing his speech.
And he comes in, kind of gives him a small approach, and then it just escalates a little louder and louder. And then before he exits the room to go have that conversation, he tells it to everybody. He's like, this is exactly what's happening. So in that moment, you're thinking, smart. So if you wind up dead, everybody in this room heard what you just said.
Everyone heard it, yeah.
So good. At least you've gotten some backup. At least people heard what you said and, will start making their own deductions. Right. Today, it would be a little bit different because, some people might be like, well, that's a hoax. Hey, right.
I don't know. I think everyone would just be recording it.
Yeah, that's true.
And not helping.
This is everybody in the room today.
Yep. I'm not going to help, but I'm going to record so I can put it online.
That's right. Look what's happening. Richard Kimball is down here in this hotel room, live on TikTok.
Yep.
But then we have our big finale where they clash at the end on the rooftop and they beat the crap out of one another and have their throwdown. But again, Gerard shows up and is on his side. And I love the scene where he's telling him. He knows he can't approach him right now, but he's trying to put him at ease. He's like, I know about this. I know about that.
Well, see, and at first, because that's the beauty of how they played it, I wasn't really sure if he was just saying what needed to be said to get Kimball to come out of hiding.
Sure. No, and that's true, yeah. Because that would have easily been the right things to say just to make him put his guard down.
I saw your evidence. I believe you, man. Yep. Come on, Yep.
And then, of course, like you said, the real villain is caught, or, well, he's dead. But
right. Yeah. Because he saved Gerard's life, by the way, Kimball, because Nichols was about to shoot Gerard.
I guess he wouldn't be dead, would he? Because all he did was, he hit him with the pipe.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did they shoot him again or anything?
No, because Gerard had the gun on him. Then Kimball come up behind him and smacked him in the leg.
Oh, that's right.
And then
he didn't
across
have
the
a gun.
face. So he should be alive.
Yeah, I feel like they hit him again because he was waking up or something, right?
He got hit twice. I do remember that. Yeah.
Okay. But so I feel like one was Tommy and then one was, I don't know. Anyway, he's down.
He's down. Maybe not dead. He's down. So, drive off into the sun. Well, it's not sunset. The nightlife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, it's a kind of a bittersweet because at the end of the day, he's going to be his sentence will be taken away,
because it seems like Gerard's really just about the justice of it all. Because once he realized, like, you didn't do it. I know, man.
And but at the end of the day, it's like we said, his wife is still dead. So it's just it's disappointing, but
yeah.
We glossed over one scene, though, I do want to go back to. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. We talked about it, but I missed the best part. Is when he did go to that prison and he walked out. The U.S. Marshals were already there going to follow that same lead. And then Tommy Lee Jones is going down one, and Harrison Ford is going down. Tommy Lee Jones is coming up. And then they have that little cross off two different sides. And then he's like, wait a second. Like he caught the back of his head, but it was enough to make him go, wait a second. That might have been him. And he runs over and he sees him, shouts to him. And then the chase begins down through these stairs. That's another intense scene. And of course, when he gets to the door, that great line when he rounds the corner, he's like, officer, there's a guy waving a gun around and screaming and a woman. And just, it was just enough for them to not know. It's like, holy shit, there's a crazy man. We got to stop him.
There is a guy with a gun. You're right. You know. Yep.
But yeah, that was a great, it was a very nice, intense, but touch of humor right there at the end just made it so much better.
Yeah, excuse me, officer. Yeah, because I did forget about that because he was showing up because he thought the person who killed his wife might have actually been already in prison. So he had arranged to have a visit so he could see if it was him.
Sure.
And I still think he should have sat there and had a conversation for a minute.
Yeah.
Like you said. Like he was just like, yeah, no, I'm out. And I'm like, that looks more shady. You're right. Like to just sit down, talk to some dude and go, nah, and then leave.
But we don't... I try to keep that in mind is he knows he's being watched. He knows he's still being pursued. So how much time do you have to spare? And that could have been one of those situations thinking, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to have to just get going. Because if he'd stayed up there too much longer, would they have gotten him there ahead of time? Or would he have missed them completely? I don't know.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of wondering. Because if he would have, Tommy would have probably been all the way up the stairs.
That's true. And he'd have caught him walking right out of there. So it could have been really, really bad.
Yeah. I guess it could have gone either way, just depending on the timing. But yeah, no, that was a great scene. I don't know. Any of the scenes that had Tommy in it was just phenomenal.
I got to ask, too, since, again, this is this is where you live, pretty much. The green in the river, is that a thing they do?
Oh, yeah. Every year for St. Patrick's Day, which is hilarious because it's already kind of green. So I'm like, why we dye it more? I don't know. But yes, 100% every year on St. Patrick's Day, they dye it super green. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think it was a lie. I was just like, are they still doing this today? Is this like, maybe it was something and somebody would have been at some point saying, hey, this is probably not good for the environment right here.
It's probably not. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, there's always that boat that goes through and dumps it all in the water. Maybe that's why it always looks a little green now. Maybe it's just they've done it for so long. But I'm just like, it's already gross.
Well, it's like Big said. It's like, they take one day out of the year to dye it green. Why can't they just dye it blue the rest of the year?
Right. Like, come on. Yeah. And it's never looked like blue water. It's, just gross right there.
Gross ass water.
Yeah.
I did want to also bring up one other thing that I thought was interesting, and this is not anything about the movie specifically, but the writers of this movie, there was a name that popped up, and I was like, holy shit, I know that guy. David Toohey, I think is how you pronounce his name. He was one of the co-writers on this.
Familiar.
Best known to me as the guy who wrote Pitch Black and Riddick, those movies and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
I think he actually directed them as well. I thought that was kind of an interesting, seeing how he's kind of evolved in his story making, because he seems like he did a lot of, or has done a lot more sci-fi type stuff today. But back then, he was doing, little bits like this. Even kind of wrote Critters 2, which I guess was sci-fi-esque.
I guess, yeah.
In some
little
aspects.
Monsters.
Yeah. You got that space element. I mean, they're aliens, so it's close enough.
Close enough. I'll accept it.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see his name attached to this when you take a look at the rest of the body of work that he's done that this does not seem like it's in his wheelhouse because he does a lot, or the things he seems to do seem more sci-fi or a little more horror related. But again, he's got a few that aren't. But
He did G.I. Jane?
yeah,
Interesting.
G.I. Jane.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it does look like Waterworld.
Yeah, I mean, again, and that even kind of backs up what I was saying about some of, I guess that's sci-fi-ish in a way.
I would, yeah, it's like a dystopian future of some sort. Yeah, that splits people hardcore. Like you love it or you hate it. It's kind of like pineapple on pizza.
Yeah. I don't really know what more there is to talk about this, but
Yeah.
I really like this movie. I think it is an intense ride. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's entertaining. You got some great performances. Like I said, Tommy Lee Jones owns.
Oh my God. Just for him alone. I mean, Harrison Ford, of course, obviously puts up a stellar performance, but I don't know. There was just something about his performance in this one where it's just chef's kiss. Like just to see him do that, I think is worth it.
But again, this is one of those performances that you have probably seen it done in parody in so many other things because what was the big deal? Like I said, this movie got parodied so hard, but there would be
especially the I didn't kill my wife.
Yeah.
You know.
But I remember seeing movies where they would do, well, you need to go check out this coop house, hound house, gin house, outhouse, and everybody trying to come up with different things, and it's like, stop, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, that
Just
was a
stop.
good,
Yeah.
For that character, it works. You know?
Yeah.
He's just, that's his way. Go do this.
You're just seeing the process.
Yeah.
Of how he deduces down to where you need to, I mean, been doing it forever. He's like, this is usually what happens. This is what I want looked at. Do this, do that. Yeah, that was a great line. I can't remember all the houses and shit that he like rattled off. But yeah, it was a great line.
Yeah.
You know, perfectly fit for the situation.
And what's funny is this is also a movie where our two leads barely have any screen time. If you think about it, they had the scene in the tunnel.
Oh, like together?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, together. You're right.
Scene
They
in the
probably
tunnel.
only saw each other a couple times filming the whole thing, probably because they didn't need to be on the same set.
Scene at the end where you know, pretty much from that point on they were inseparable.
Yeah, I guess like the sewer, the scene at the end. And the police station, I guess maybe, even though I don't know that they would have had to have been there to film that chase scene together either, to be honest.
Well, I was going to say, even like, I wouldn't even count the phone conversation because they were not in the same room.
Yeah, no, I wasn't counting that. I was thinking, like, did I? No.
Well, no. I was sitting there trying to think of other things that, like, scenes they would have shared, if you will. But that's a conversation of the phone. They were not in the same scene. They were conversing with one another, sure, but they were not in the scene together. So I don't count that as a proper scene share, if you will.
Yeah, no,
but,
agreed.
I don't know. I love this movie. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to kind of recommend it to anybody who maybe has never heard of it because it just came out on 4K a few weeks ago, I think. Looks great. Sounds great. But it should be on, I don't know. I would say Max, but I know they've been selling off a lot of their shit to other streamers, so sometimes that's not exactly accurate much anymore.
Looks like everything's you gotta rent it. Interesting.
Probably.
Amazon, Apple, Fandango, YouTube, Google Play.
Which
looks like
really
the most
just
expensive
blows my mind.
$4.
All the movies in the world that you have on streaming, and this is not one of them, easily accessible. Damn that. Yeah, I mean, this is a solid movie.
I don't understand it either. Because there's some where I feel like I should just be able to watch just because it's old and someone should just have it tucked away somewhere. You know? Like just
agreed.
Just it can't take up much space. Yeah. I don't know.
Sometimes I just get in a mood for an older film and I start to look on the streaming platforms and they don't have them organized anymore. Like I used to like when they used to have a section called classics. So I knew about the time era in which they were going for. So I knew that's where I would go look. Now I can't even do that anymore. Now they're all bundled together with everything. So I'll just have to search. And I don't like it.
As long as I've got an easy way to type stuff in, fine. But most of the time I forget the name of the movie I'm looking for.
That's why I want to go search for it. I just want it in this box so I can go find it.
I need to see the pictures, please. Yeah. Because, well, side note, we finished talking about The Fugitive probably. You probably had to have seen that they're wanting to remake Death Becomes Her. And I'm just like, how do you ever, ever replace Meryl Streep. You can't. Sorry. Goldie Hawn's still also amazing. Bruce Willis still also amazing. But why? And then I saw the talk about it, and then I wanted to go watch the movie again because it's a good movie. And then I can't find it anywhere. And I was like, really? Come on, man. But I don't know. When I heard that they were remaking that, I'm like, we really are just scraping at this point. Like, it was a good movie. It's not one that I would have thought we needed to remake by any stretch of the imagination. Kate Hudson is rumored to be in it, which I guess makes sense since it's Goldie's kid. But Anne Hathaway is rumored to also be in it with her. And I just don't. Okay, I'll just shut up because it's probably rude. I don't know why I don't like Anne Hathaway. I just don't like Anne Hathaway. I can't tell you why. It's not like she's done anything. I just
don't apologize for it. Don't apologize for it because you know what? There's just some actors out there I don't want to watch in a movie either. Yeah, Russell Crowe is one of those people. I don't know what it is. He's not done a damn thing to me. I just don't care for it.
So you understand. That's how I feel about her. I'm like, I can't pinpoint why. Like, I can't think of a film she was in that she ruined it for me or something. And I even like The Devil Wears Prada. I just wish it could have been someone else than her.
I get it. 100%. I get it.
So now I'm like, meh. I didn't hear who they were thinking about Bruce Willis's character for the husband or whatever, or ex-husband, I guess. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there that I was reading that over the last couple of days. And okay, sure, I guess.
Whatever.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about that in the future.
Perhaps. But that's all I got on the future.
I got nothing else. Good movie. Right. Good flick. Nice quick one, too, if you were just looking for something that'll keep moving.
Oh, yeah. Never stops. Like I said, there are some moments where it slows down, but I feel like it's for our benefit.
Yeah, well, we have to set up a little bit. Yeah.
And catch your breath. So, but it works all the same because you're not going to be sitting on that for very long. So if you've never watched The Fugitive, see if you can find it. It's on digital. You can find it somewhere or go get yourself a copy. Doesn't matter. Just check it out. Let us know what you think on social media at Super Mega Crash, whether you've seen it or you want to go see it. If this sounds like something you want to go check out. Or if you've also read the book. How close? Or watched one of the other series. Maybe you watched the original 1963 series. Was it as great? Was it as exciting as that? Or was it a show full of filler for God knows how many episodes?
That's what I'm curious about. Like, how long can you drag out the Looking for My Wife's Killer? For 3 seasons even. Like, there had to be other plot points. There just had to. I genuinely feel like they took the Incredible Hulk route where he was just a man on the run, but he would hide off in these towns and he'd wind up helping somebody. Like an episode of the week. Yeah. And then it'd be like, well, Richard Kimball was here, but he helped some people. And, but he disappeared. He saved our lives, you know. That was a good man is what he was. And they probably said it just like that because of the time frame. Yeah. Anyway, whatever your thoughts are, social media is Super Mega Crash. Send us an email at supermegacrash@gmail.com. Support the show over on Patreon. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app. And keep up with all things over at pencilpaperproductions.com/supermegacrash. Links are in the show notes down below. Join us again next week, siblings. But until then, blame the one-armed man and go beyond your limits.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.